Good day, everyone. This is Coach Reese coming at you with another video. I'm hoping all is well with you and your family, that you're enjoying your day. Today, I'm going to be continuing my talking about the subject of jazz. And I have three important points here that I want to discuss in this video. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started with that. In order to be a jazz musician, this is just my opinion. I feel that you have to be a spiritual minded person. So what I mean is, when you play jazz music, you have to play in the moment at all times. Okay. Jazz music is a very colorful style of music. It has a very colorful sound, and I really enjoy listening to good jazz musicians like, McCoy Tyner or Herbie Hancock or John Coltrane. Those artists, you can tell that they put the work in. They practice, and practice, and they're just relentless at being the best that they possibly can on at the gig or a set. When you're spiritual in jazz music, you know, it's real. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're going with the flow, and you're really diving deep within your heart, and you're bringing that forth to the audience. Or, if you are, making a record at the time, you're bringing forth a moment that can never be duplicated. That's the key to jazz music, in my opinion. When you try to put structure on jazz, it's just my opinion. I think that you're watering it down, and I think that's the main reason why I don't really like, jazz musicians that are, current jazz musicians. You know, I just don't like contemporary jazz music. I prefer to listen to jazz that came out in the '60s. I believe that era, was a good decade for the '60s. Was a good decade for jazz music. That was during the '60s. The '60s gave birth to the John Coltrane Love Supreme. Herbie Hancock had a host of albums in his band. I think when he broke away from Miles Davis, he put together a good jazz band back in the '60s, and he has a host of albums that he made back then. One of those albums was called Maiden Voyage. Okay. Miles Davis, you know, came out when Miles Davis back in the '60s had a host of good albums. I believe the album is called ESP. It came out, I think, in the early '60s or maybe late '50s or whatever. And Herbie Hancock played in that quartet, I believe. And again, Miles Davis was one of those artists that came out with some very good albums during that time. There's an album called Nefertiti, and there's another album called Sorcerer. And I think Cicely Tyson, they took a picture of Cicely Tyson's face and they placed it on the album cover. So basically, when I look at those jazz artists back in the '60s, I didn't see those guys looking at sheet music. And I'm a type person that, I feel like if you really want to be a jazz musician, you don't need sheet music. Now, I understand the purpose of sheet music in jazz. It only serves two purposes. Number one is if you are called upon to, play a gig with a band that you rarely play with, and you're not really familiar with the tune. Yeah, it's important to know the sheet music at that point. But the band director needs to understand. I hope he understands that once, you guys have to do each of you guys have to do a solo, that you don't read sheet music. You just branch out from the foundational melody and do your thing. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about in regards to being spiritual is if you believe in God, if you attend church on a regular basis, that's a bonus, because you have the opportunity to listen to the music ministry, like the gospel choir in your church. And, if you do attend church on a regular basis, young people, I thoroughly encourage you to be in tune with that gospel choir, to really listen and pay attention to how, be in tune to that sound, you know, be in tune to how they have a soulful sound, like that. You know, I remember when I think I have a DVD of Aretha Franklin. She did a gospel album, but she did it live in concert at a church. And I'm telling you, Aretha Franklin was so powerful. Like that voice, it just grabs you, to me, because Aretha Franklin, just my humble opinion, she can sing. Okay, she has a very soulful voice, a very powerful, very profound voice that captures you. So, basically what I'm trying to say is this: you bring that gospel sound, you take that gospel sound with you when you practice your jazz music, and you take that gospel sound with you to your gigs and to your to your set, if if you guys are making an album together, what have you. The bonus, like I say, the bonus of attending church on a regular basis is that you already have that spirituality, right? And it's just natural for you to exercise your faith, whoever you believe in. I personally believe in God, and so my spirituality is a part of my life. I can't live without God. So if that's the type of person you are, that is a bonus, you know. So, but again, I'm not trying to disrespect, people's different belief systems, but if your belief system is spiritual, then it will help you. It should help you with your jazz music, especially if you are a type of person that attends church that has a gospel choir that sings, on a regular basis in your church. Okay. The second point I want to bring up is if you want to be a jazz musician, I think it's very important to seek out an elder, an old guy that's been in the jazz arena for a long time. It would be nice if you can have a Wynton Marsalis, mentor you and teach you how to play a horn. That would be great. But if not, there are a host of really good, jazz musicians that are unknown. And I encourage you guys to seek out that jazz sound and learn from that sound. It's so important that you learn jazz music from an elder that plays only jazz music. You know what I mean? Because jazz music is different from other music. Yes, it has the the blues and the gospel in that sound, but you just can't put jazz music on paper. You understand what I'm saying? And again, I don't want you guys to be a watered down musician. I want you to be a real jazz musician. You know what I'm saying? So in order to be a good jazz musician, you guys are going to have to learn from the best, right? Like I'm a piano guy, so you got to learn from cats like Thelonious Monk or Dorothy Donegan. McCoy Tyner is another good mentor. You understand what I'm saying? Oscar Peterson is another good mentor. Ray Charles, Ray Charles now, he dipped and dabbed in different genres of music, but you can learn a lot from him, and also the brother Stevie Wonder. He would be another good mentor. Listen to that sound, take all of those sounds of the piano in your spirit, and I feel that you would be a good musician. I heard a jazz musician, one of the old jazz musicians, say this. You know, um, your mentor is going to determine how you sound. So, in other words, if John Coltrane is your mentor, I put John Coltrane at the top of Mount Everest. You know what I mean? Because I heard a jazz musician say that, you know, John Coltrane was strictly improvisational at all times. You know what I mean? And that sound was all about him. And it's very important. It's very difficult to duplicate John Coltrane's sound. In order to get to that John Coltrane sound, you're gonna have to practice and work hard at it for years. I'm talking about decades. You know, I was listening to a jazz musician the other day, and he was talking about how, I think he had been playing for a couple of years or so, but then he was sitting next to a jazz musician that played, I think, the same instrument that he plays, and when he put the horn or to his mouth, or when he started playing the instrument, he was like, wow. He's like, that sound, it just takes years to get that to that level. So basically, I encourage you guys to stay humble, you know what I mean, and just practice, 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 practice. Okay. And I think it's very important, young people, again, that you seek out an elder, that's been playing jazz music for a long time. Now I'm gonna tell you about the elder. They they may sound disrespectful. They may talk to you not in a disrespectful way, but they may say, man, you sound sad, and don't be discouraged. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna tell you something. If the old guy is making time to teach you, he see the potential in you. Okay, I want to say that again. If he makes time to teach you, he sees the potential in you, and so you keep going to him or her, and you take up and absorb as much knowledge as you can, and you take that sound that they teach you with you, because one day the light bulb is going to go off right here or in here, and your sound is going to be born from, your elder's sound. Your sound is going to be born from John Coltrane's sound. Your sound is going to be born from the sound of Herbie Hancock. Your sound is going to be born from that sound of Dorothy Donegan. You understand? And so it's very important that you listen to elders that have been doing this, playing this jazz music for a long time. When I look at Miss Dorothy Donegan, I'm a new jazz fan of her, but when I see her play, I can hear real jazz music in her sound. I can hear classical music in her sound, and I noticed that, Miss Donegan, she doesn't look at the piano that often. She's constantly looking around, she may look at the audience or whatever, but she is totally aware of where she's at on the piano at all times. And that's how you want to be. You want to be on that level where you can actually look at your band members while you're playing the piano. You understand what I'm saying? And you can feel that vibe in the moment and do your thing. That's a jazz musician, in my opinion. Okay. Now, like I say, when you take lessons from old guys, they may give you a hard time, and they may say that you sound sad. I'm talking about even after years of learning from them. But like I say, if that old guy makes time for you to teach you the art of jazz, you take advantage of that, because that should be your encouragement to hang in there if he's making time for you. You understand what I'm saying? If that old guy is inviting you to do a gig with him, that's very important, because he sees the potential in you. So you hang in there, You go with the punches. You know what I mean? Old guys can be the toughest guys to deal with, but you got to look at it like this. That old guy is trying to train you to be tough. In jazz music, it's very rare that you're going to be an extremely rich person in jazz music. Like brothers like, Michael Jackson or Prince. You may not be that wealthy in jazz. Jazz music is one of those arts that you have to want to do it. You have to be intentional. You have to be spiritual. You have to be improvisational. All of those things have to be within you with jazz music. You know, you have to look at jazz music also as you are like a minister of music. Since jazz music is spiritual, you play from the heart at all times, right? And you just never know, young people, how the impact that you're going to have on the audience that you're playing for. So you always, treat your gigs and your sets, and when you practice with the old guy, you treat all of those things like you're going to the Super Bowl. This is a big deal. Jazz is a very big deal, okay? And you should take it very seriously. And that goes into my last topic that I want to talk about today. Now, if you're blessed to have an old guy teach you, jazz music, is very important that you be on time, okay? So if your appointment is at 4:30 p.m., you be there by at least 4 o'clock or 4:15 every single time, and you prepare for that practice before you get there. You practice before you have, lessons with the old guy, and you practice after, you have the lessons with the old guy. The old guy, he's going to see if you're serious and intentional, because he's going to be giving you things that you need to practice, and he expects you to be a little bit better the next time. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important. I'm going to tell you something. With jazz music, you have to have the utmost seriousness. You have to practice for hours and hours every single day. You understand what I'm saying? The only way that you're going to get good in jazz music is you have to practice. Cats like John Coltrane, I've heard some band members in John Coltrane's band say, man, Coltrane is, he's a real drag, man, because he wants to practice all the time. But when you practice like that, when intentionality, when you practice like that, trying to discover yourself, even after 40 years, the sound that you're going to produce is hard to describe, and people are going to gravitate towards you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, John Coltrane, I believe he took his horn just about everywhere he went. I remember, I think I was listening to a video, and, John Coltrane was playing, he was practicing in a hotel room, and he was the sound, his horn was so loud that he was disturbing his neighbors, and I think that he had to reduce himself to what you call a dry blow, which, I think a dry blow is like you don't actually blow in the horn, but I guess he was trying to get his key position, and he was just practicing that way, I think. But, young people, like I say, you have to bring a high level of seriousness to this art form, okay? If you want to be the next John Coltrane, you have to put your heart and soul into this art, and you have to be intentional. You understand what I'm saying? So, I see this video is long again, and, I pray that you guys bear with me, but I'm passionate about jazz music. And if you choose jazz music as a career, I want you to put forth your best foot forward, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and go into my thoughts on wisdom, and I'm going to go into my thoughts on critical thinking, and then I'm going to end with the ending statement of practice. I have 3 points on wisdom. Now, point number 1, wise people are good listeners. Point number one, wise people are good listeners. Point number two, wise people have the thirst or desire to learn good knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Okay. Point number two, wise people have the thirst or desire to learn good knowledge and spiritual knowledge. That's very important, young people. Point number three, wise people have the courage to teach their wisdom. Wise people have the courage to teach their wisdom. Okay. So young people, I encourage you to research the topic of wisdom. and I pray that you guys, take on the path of gaining as much wisdom as you can. Okay. The next topic I want to talk about is critical thinking. And the statement is this: always be a critical thinker, especially when making big decisions. Okay. So the statement again is always be a critical thinker, especially when making big decisions. So young people, I encourage you guys to be a critical, always be a critical thinker. And I pray that your parents will help you navigate and making a big decision, navigate the differences between making a big decision and small decisions. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and go into my ending statement of practice. I love you, young people. I want the best for you. I want you to practice using love and wisdom in all that you do. Life is a game that you must learn how to play. Practicing love and wisdom with your family and friends and loved ones creates a powerful team. Love conquers all, young people, even if you feel defeated. So young people, I encourage you to keep loving and keep growing in wisdom, and God will bless you in a mighty way. I encourage you guys to hit the thumbs up button. I encourage you guys to share this content with family, friends, and loved ones. And I encourage you guys to subscribe to my channel. At the end of the day, young people, all I want is the best for you. I want you to accomplish your goals and dreams in life as long as it is productive. I'm with you 110%, okay? And I'm just going to end my video by saying this final statement. Well, actually, two final statements. Don't ever think that you're better than anyone else, but rather, young people, think that you're just as good as anyone else. Humility is a vital key to having a successful life, okay? Young people, I'm just going to conclude my video by saying this: God bless you, and may God keep you until we meet again.